Bruchim haboim, welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Tes Amud Aleph, Halacha Aleph, the new Mishnah in the 7th Perek. The previous Perek ended off with teaching us that there are 13 shofaros, 13 different kupois that were used in the Mikdash, and it told us the designation of all of these funds. Our Mishnah now discusses when a coin is found next to or between two different kupois, two different shofaros. What is the din? Which one does it belong to? Says the Mishnah, Mos shenimtzeu bein hashkolim linidova. Now, the 13 shofaros were listed as the shkolim, the tiklin chatin, the tiklin atikin, then kinin, Goizle oila, eitzim, levoina, zov, lichfaras, and the 6th for nidava. So over here, the Mishnah begins by saying, the Mishnah begins by saying, Moshe nimtzu ben ashkolim lenidava. Those coins that are found between the shkolim and the nidava, which is listed at the end. What is the din? Karov lishkolim, yiplu lishkolim. If it's close to the shkolim, it will then go towards the shkolim. Lenedava, yiplu nedava. However, if it's closer to the kupa, the shofar of nedava, it will go to that. Now, although we have a klal that states that when it comes to roiv and karoiv, then roiv viholech achar haroiv. So over here you must say that here there's the same amount of coins in the shkolim as there are in the nidava. And here the din is that karoiv, the klal is that holech achar hakaroiv. And therefore that which is closest to one of the two kupois, if it's closest to shkolim, then it belongs to the shkolim. If it's closest to the nidava, it belongs to nidava. Mechza lemechza, if it's found equidistant between the two, yiplu lenidava, then it goes to the Nadava. Over here we're starting to see that we take the chomer of the two, and since the Nadava is more chomer than the Shkalim, Shkalim is true, is given for communal offerings, and the Nadava is also for communal offerings, but the Nadava is more chomer, because when it comes to the Shkalim, if it's not going to be used, as the Gemara will explain, for the communal offerings, so then at the end it'll be used for bedek habayis, if there are shiarei hashkolim. Bein eitzim levoina, between the shofaros of 18 that are used for the burning, the pyre of the mizbeach, versus that shofar that is for levoina, which is burnt on the mizbeach. Karov le'etzim yiplu le'etzim, karov le'levoina yiplu le'levoina. Whichever one is closest to it will go to that kupa. Mechza le'mechza yiplu le'levoina. That which is going to be equidistant, then we say the coin belongs to levoina. Again, more chamur, because when it comes to the eitzim are merely machshir, the burning of the korbanos, of the mizbeach. But this is actually burnt on the mizbeach itself, so therefore levoina has the din kedima. We say that it belongs to the levoina. Bein koinin legoiz leoila, if it's found between the shofar of the kinim are the pair of birds offered by, let's say, a woman who needs to bring a chatas and an oila because she just gave birth. Here we're talking about the opinion of the Chachamim in the previous Mishnah, and is found between that and the Goizle Oila, the shofar that's Goizle Oila for the Oila offerings. So it says over here, Karav lekinin, yiplu lekinin. Karav legoizle Oila, yiplu legoizle Oila. Depending on which one it's closer to, it goes to that. However, Mechza lemechza, if it's equidistant, yiplu legoizle Oila, go to the Goizle Oila, which is considered to be more chamur. Again, because since the Goizle Oila has the offerings only for the korban oila, the birds are going to be completely up as an oila offering. That takes precedence over chatas and an oila. Bein chulin lamaiser sheni, if it's found between now outside the Beis Hamikdash. Until now, we've been speaking about things in the Beis Hamikdash, the kupos. What happens if a person is in his private home and he has one kis that is for chulin and one kis that is for his meiser sheni? He was paid the fruits of his meiser sheni. He has produce that are chayiv meiser sheni, and instead of bringing them to Yerushalayim, he wants to be paid them onto a coin. So he redeems them onto the coin, and he takes these coins in a certain kis. And now he finds in between these two kisim, between the chulin and the meiser sheni, he finds a coin. So what is the din? Again, karav lechulin, yipul lechulin. L'meiser sheni, yipul l'meiser sheni. Whichever one is closer to it belongs to that kupa. Mechza lemechza, yipul l'meiser sheni. However, if it's found equidistant, then it goes to meiser sheni, which has kedusha. Zeh haklal, the Mishnah then teaches us the klal of all of this. Holchin achar hakorov l'hokil. Whichever one it is close to, we go and say we're mekil based on that. Again, the principle is that which is korov, holech achar korov. Where do we learn the principle of holech achar korov? When it comes to the egla arufa, if a dead body is found in the outskirts of the city, so we determine which is the closest city that the dead body fell. And we measure then the step to that closest city, and then we go to the Nachal, we decapitate the Egel, and as a kapara until we find the murder. So whichever city is closest, we have the principle, that which is korov, holech achar korov, so too over here. Mechza lemechza lahachmir. If it's mechza lemechza, if it's equidistant, then we're stringent, we say that which is the stringent of the two, then because since the Safek, the Araisa, we go lechumra, therefore the din is lahachmir. The Gemara asks right away, loy hutzrechu, the loy bein shkolim lekinim. In other words, the Mishnah began by saying a case between shkolim and nedava. Now, we listed 13 different kupos at the previous Mishnah, and we said the first of the 13 is the new shkolim, the last of the 13 is the nedava. So lachara, why are we saying you find a coin between the first and the last? We really should say between the shkolim and the kinim. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Avon b'shem Rabbi Pinchas kemin buchliar hayu oisin. We're talking about where the 13 kupos were in a circle, whereby we found a coin between the first and the 13th. And that's what we mean by saying between the shkolim and the nedava. Ask the Gemara, mechza lemechza yiplu l'nedava. Why is it when it comes to mechza between the shkolim and the nedava, then we say it goes to the nedava? Ask the Gemara, why should that be? We know when it comes to shkolim, the shkolim also are going to then purchase the korban oila for the community. Not just korban oila, rather. They're going to be korban nedava, the different communal offerings for the tzibur. So, and then why does that then take precedence over the nedava, which are only voluntary offerings? In other words, when it comes to the shkolim, those are obligatory for the tzibur. And here we're saying that if it's equidistant to the nedava, then we'll yiplu nedava because of the principle of the safek diaraisa lechumra. Why is that lechumra? Asks the Gemara. Answers the Gemara because the east the boy meimar shema yiplu l'shayi halishka. One answer is because that if the shkolim, although they're obligatory, but if there's leftover shkolim, it'll be used for things like bedek habayis, for the binya of the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash, whereby it comes out that the nedava is more chamur than, even though it's true, it's donative offerings, but it still becomes more chamur than the obligatory from the shkolim. East the boy meimar mechza lemechza kemisha meis. There's another explanation, and that's because mechza has the din of somebody who dies and who had given shkolim. The Gemara explains, Omer Rav Yasa ad da'ana taman. While I was still there in Bavel, Shamis kol Rabbi Yehuda shol Shmuel. I heard Rabbi Yehuda ask Shmuel the following question. What did Rav Yehuda ask Shmuel? Hifish shikloi umeis. A person was mafrish his machzis hashekel, and then before it was then given to the gizbar and used, he died. Now we have a problem because when it comes to the shkalim is a lechaper al chatoseichem. It's a kapara. And we know when it comes to a person who's dead, the korban cannot bring a kapara for somebody who is dead. So what happens in this event when somebody who's mafrish his machzis shekel and then he dies subsequently? Omar lei, Shmuel said back to Rav Yehuda, yiplu l'nedava. It'll go towards a nedava. So you see over here that when it comes over here to that which you says is mechza yiplu l'nedava, indeed it's going to ultimately be for a nedava offering. The Gemara now brings the hemshech of what was asked by Rav Yehuda to Shmuel. Asiris ha'efa shel. This is agav. If you have an asiris ha'efa shelo, that means to say when you have an additional from the mincha offering, there's a daily mincha offering that the Kohen Gadol brings called the asiris ha'efa, and it's a minchas chavita. If that extra, let's say, money to buy there's extra money for that asiris ha'efa, what should then be with that? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Yolichu liyam hamelech, it's asur bahana, therefore you have to throw it into the yam hamelech. Rabbi Elazar Omar, yiplu nedava, it falls to nedava for a communal nedava offering that will be offered on the mizbeach for ketzah mizbeach when the mizbeach is not being used. Now the Gemara comes back to what the Mishnah said. The Mishnah said that when it comes to, you have the kinim and the goizle oila, and you find the coin between the kinim, the pair birds, and the goizle oila. Now we said the pair birds is brought, let's say, for a woman who just gave birth, as a chatas and an oila. And it falls between that kinin and goizle oila, the ola birds. So the Gemara asks, why is it that when it's mechza lemechza, then we say it's yiplu legoizla oila, the kasha, the yesh chatas kreva oila? How can it be then given to the oila? Hare, this itself that we're talking about, we are saying over here that indeed it's mechza on mechza, and still we're going to give it as yiplu le goizla oila. Well, we know that when it comes to, if it was a coin that belonged to the kinin, that was a chatas and an oila. So how can we then use a chatas to be makriv as an oila? Answers the Gemara, Chizkiya b'shem Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Tanai Beis Dinhi. It's a Tanai Bezdin that they made. Al ha-moisora sheyikuvu oilos. They made a Tanai Bezdin if there's extra, there's moisoros of chatos, it will go towards an oila. So too over here, they made a Tanai Bezdin that it will be effective as an oila. And therefore, it can be brought as goizle oila. Ask the Gemara, okay, if you're going to say it's going to be goizle oila, but still, ha'isha hazois b'mehi miskaperes. Let's say this yoledes, who just gave birth, is now bringing her kinin. Now, how will that then affect a kapar for her if it's going to be an oila and not a chatos? Answers the Gemara, Rabbi Yitzchok, Tanai Bezdin, that's also included in Tanai Bezdin. Like the Mishnah says later on, ha-mesapek es hakinin, hu mesapek es hapsulois. The one who provides, it means the vendor who provides the birds to the Beis HaMikdash. So there's also an agreement that if those birds that are psulois, or lost, for example, then the vendor will also then give extra birds, and then that will then be credited to the one who lost or has those psulos birds. So in this case as well, the woman will get a kapara from the mesapik. Ask the Gemara now, the Mishnah doesn't state what is the din when a coin is found between these different shofaros, between the kitares and the eitzim, or between the lavoina and the zahav kifares. The kitares and the eitzim, there we're talking about a kitares that is the kupa for the burning of the kitares. The eitzim itself is just for the wood of the pyre. And The Zav Kfares, that is the Ben Ketaris li Eitzim. We know the Ketaris is for the burning of the Ketaris and the Eitzim. And the Lavoina and the Zav Kfares, the Lavoina is a frankincense that is burnt on the Mizbeach, for example, from the Lechem Haponim. Or the Zav Kfares, that was gold that was put in, and that would be used for the Kli Shares. Al Kapanim, what happens if you find a coin in between these, between the Ketaris and the Eitzim, or between the Lavoina and the Zav Kfares? What is the din? The Mishnah doesn't say. On that answers the Gemara, V'anicha b'seifa, v'tanisa b'seifa. We already learned it in the Seifa of the Mishnah, which teaches us the klal. Ze klal holchin achar hakaroif, mechzel lemechzel lehachmer. When we have something that is karoif to one of the two kupos, then we say that halich achar karoif. We're mekil. However, when it comes to equidistant mechza lemechza, then we go lechumra because we said safek the araisa lechumra.